this podcast, you'll find interviews with high-performing, successful individuals in life sciences. On a weekly basis, we cover their proven methods, principles, strategies, and mindsets to implement new technologies that scale to meet the needs of people in our world.
Welcome to this episode of Life Science Success. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Don, and I am a digital marketer in life sciences. And before we get started in the interview today, I just wanted to play a quick message from our sponsor. Being at the epicenter of the next breakthrough in biotechnology. That moment could happen for you this October at Bio on the Bayou 2025, where Southern innovation meets scientific excellence in the heart of New Orleans. Over 300 of the brightest minds in biotech are coming together for 2 extraordinary days in New Orleans. We're talking groundbreaking research from powerhouses like Tulane, Auburn, the University of Mississippi, Xavier University of Louisiana, and LSU Health. Expect revolutionary technologies, cutting-edge research, and industry-shaping expert panels that you won't find at any other event. Plus, networking opportunities that could transform your career. This isn't just another conference. It's an intensive 2-day summit where real partnerships form. We leverage the cutting-edge Partnering One platform to ensure that you'll connect with exactly the right people, whether you're seeking investors, research partners, or your next big opportunity. The future of biotechnology is being shaped right here in the broader Gulf South and having a global impact. Will you be part of it? Mark your calendar for October 28th and 29th. Head to bioonthebayou.com right now and secure your spot for the most exciting biotechnology event of 2025. The next breakthrough could be yours. Bio on the Bayou 2025. Register today. In this episode of Life Science Success Podcast, my guest is Forrest Brown. He's the president of Germ-Free, a pioneering company in mobile laboratory and biocontainment solutions. With a summa cum laude degree in biomedical engineering and an impressive career transforming GMP facilities, Forrest brings a wealth of strategic leadership and technical expertise to our conversation today, and I'm really looking forward to having him on the show. So thanks a lot for being here, Forrest.
Yeah, thanks, Don. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, it's great to have you here. Would you mind just telling everybody a little bit about your background and what led you to your current role as the president at Germ-Free?
Yeah, it's kind of an interesting story, or at least ends with an interesting twist. So I started my career working up and down the East Coast in both large and small pharma biotech facilities, doing a variety of different roles: automation, CQV, facilities engineering, all that fun stuff. And, about 5 or 6 years ago, I ended up moving up to New England. The company I was working for at the time wanted to open an office in New England. And so I helped them lead that effort. And we were doing a lot in the cell and gene therapy space at the time. And a few years passed, and I got the opportunity to join this company, Vibologics, as the 3rd employee in the U.S., and, we were turning an old Cisco facility, the network IT company, and turning that into a biotech CDMO serving the virotherapy market. And, that's actually where I met Germ-Free. So as you might imagine, we're taking this brownfield facility, trying to get clean rooms in it. And, who's one of the first companies I call? Germ-Free. Got to know them, delivered a project, and as it turned out, I kept in touch with our CEO, Kevin, and here I am. So happy to be here, and it was pretty cool to start already knowing everyone as a previous customer.
Yeah, I tell people all the time, as big as this industry is, I feel like it's also small whenever you sort of, make a lot of relationships and you're able to connect with people. I feel like you trip over the same people, all the time. Just yesterday, I was having a conversation with somebody who happens to be married to somebody else that I know, and I had no idea that they were, husband and wife. And so just a great, interesting, again, twist to the way that relationships work inside of life sciences.
Yeah, it's the biggest small industry you'd ever could work in, I would imagine. So,
Also true. So, how has your experience in terms of launching GMP facilities shaped your approach to leadership at Germfree?
yeah, so I think that was actually one of the synergies that Kevin was trying to capitalize on, if you will, when we were talking about if this would be a good fit. I bring the customer experience, and I'm trying to really focus on that with our engineering team in particular. Like, how does the customer use this facility, right? And I think having that end user experience is super important and something that we're trying to focus a little bit more on each day. Oftentimes the people that we speak with up front in the sales cycle are not the people that actually use the facilities. Imagine that. And so it's good to understand both sides, right? We kind of have two sets of customers, even though it's one. And I'm really trying to push the team to understand how to make our facilities and products more usable and just a better overall experience for the customer.
So, just curious, do you focus mostly on like the East Coast? You mentioned New England. Do you focus mostly on the East Coast? Are you a U.S. only company? Are you global? Just curious how far the reach is.
So we're still looking for our project for Antarctica, so we can say we're on 7 continents. We don't have it yet. If anybody's interested, please feel free to reach out. But yeah, we're kind of all over the world. We provide products all over the world, and we service them too. So we actually have employees not just in the U.S. but spread strategically around the globe to service our installations, both facilities and equipment.
And what do clients normally look like whenever they come to you? You described your scenario as a brownfield site, but do you deal with greenfield? And I guess what does it look like whenever a client comes in? What are they normally asking for, and how does that normally shape what you do with them?
So Germfree, maybe I'll elaborate a little bit more on what we do to set the stage for that answer. So we primarily provide either facilities or equipment for customers in life science and research. So when you talk on the facilities side, we have two primary offerings, if you will. I'm trying to boil it down and make it pretty simple. But we have a mobile facility and a modular facility. Mobile, those generally are sitting outside. So in some cases, they're used for CGMP installations. In most cases, they're used to support hospital pharmacies. Perhaps they're doing a renovation, need somewhere to compound medicine. And oftentimes we'll put that in a parking lot. And that's actually a very common installation for us. Around most of the CGMP applications, you'll see that go modular. And most of the time, the customer has an existing facility. A lot of times they're calling us saying, hey, I'm looking at this facility. If I wanted to do business with you, would this facility work? And we actually end up helping on the evaluation side of things and, how it might look to open the side of a building and slide a 56-foot long clean room module into it.
Yeah, I'm well aware of a part of that. The reason why I kind of smile is that I'm used to the installation of MRIs inside a hospital. Yeah. So we would build a copper room first, a copper shielded room, and then slide a superconductive magnet in from the outside, close the room as quickly as we could to get the client back up and running as quickly as we could. So I'm well aware of that part of the process of sliding something in. And I can think of several different, possible, ways that this is implemented. As you think about the, the overall mission of the company and the industry that it serves, are you seeing, any sort of shifts in the market today?
Shifts. What do you mean by shifts?
It's a good question. I mean, I kind of, one of the things that I constantly hear anymore is that a lot of companies are looking at possibly bringing back manufacturing that they've had overseas and things like that. I'm just curious if that's opened anything new for germ-free and sort of, made it possible for companies to get up and running quicker whenever they're having to onshore some of their manufacturing.
Yeah. So I think I'll answer the question this way. One thing that we're making a good push on that I think is really exciting is this concept of decentralized manufacturing, and that kind of goes hand in hand with what you're talking about, allowing the advanced therapy, cell therapy product to be produced closer to the patient, right? So there's beginning to be a lot of interest in doing that, especially at some of the advanced cancer centers, medical centers across the country. And so, yeah, we are seeing that both for our modular offering as well as mobile clean rooms too.
Very good. What are some of the unique challenges that you face in providing solutions for the pharmaceutical, healthcare, and biocontainment industries?
So this is one that we're kind of attacking head on, and that's scalable digitization, right? So there's a big industry 4.0 push that has been happening, will continue to happen as far as collecting data, digitizing it, and then doing a lot of different things with the immense amount of data that we can collect now compared to not that long ago. And one product that comes to mind is our Smart Hood, where we're fully integrating the IV workflow into our biosafety cabinet or laminar flow hood in a hospital pharmacy. And it's actually quite cool, the amount of data that you can collect just by having this device with the PC that's touchscreen on the work deck, a camera. Another feature that we've put in that is a speaker and microphone. And this was kind of cool. We had a customer tell us that one of their biggest time wasters is the pharmacist actually having to gown in and go into the clean room to visit the pharmacy tech a ton of times per day, right? And one of the things they asked us about is could we talk to the pharmacy tech while they're working, because we can watch them on this camera that's on your device. And we're like, yeah, sure. And so that's a new feature that we've done. And by adding these digital components to something that used to be purely mechanical, we're actually lowering the cost of drugs, which I think is really cool.
Very cool. So can you give me an example of another successful project that you've had with germ-free?
Yeah. So I guess I'll use when I was the customer. I think that's probably the most interesting, and I can speak, from both sides of that. But in that case, one of the things that we really like to focus on is being an end-to-end solution provider. And we feel like that is what adds value for our customers and can set us apart compared to maybe other choices that they may have, right? Can we take a load off of their plate and cover it? And, the kind of one neck to choke concept. And so when I was a customer, right, we had a brownfield facility happening, or it was 2-story building, and I needed to have the second story totally demolished. And I had to have the clean rooms operational faster than I could basically demolish the second story of this building to make one high bay warehouse area, and then build clean rooms in place, start it up, qualified, et cetera. So that's why we chose to work with germ-free, because simultaneously while we were, jackhammering concrete and moving that second floor out of the building down in Florida, we're building a clean room. And it was 9 modules, 14 foot wide, 56 foot long. So that got us to about, 6,000 square feet roughly. All of that stuff was built here, assembled here, tested here. And that was actually a really unique thing, because we were able to see it work before it ever left the factory. As you can imagine, things never go perfect, right? So it's no better place to fix something than in the factory. It gets packed up, shipped, and it just really accelerates the timeline to start it up once it actually shows up into the facility, which was simultaneously being prepped to receive these modules. And not only did the modules get placed, clean room started up, but then there's a CQV offering that I utilized, which was really nice because the people that designed it and qualified it were used to working with this product. So I relied heavily on them as the experts to do the appropriate testing, provide a report package, and then wrap that into my overall facility C&Q plan.
So whenever things were delivered on a second story, I'm envisioning like large cranes outside and things like that to deliver each one of the modules. Is that how it happened?
So that does happen sometimes. Sorry, I must not have been clear. This was a 2-story building that the first floor was actually not tall enough, so I had to remove the second to create a 1-story building.
Okay. All right.
But that said, there's definitely times where we pick these with the crane and slide them into the second story. That's actually a project we have that will happen very, very soon. So it's a little trickier when you have to do that.
I'm sure it is. And in terms of planning, I guess, do you guys take control of the planning process with the client? Because obviously you've got a lot of experience in terms of, site prep and things like that, and what's actually needed before the modules are delivered. So just curious to hear, what does that sort of engagement process look like?
Yeah, we have a project management team that is meeting with the clients typically it depends on the project phase that we're in, but every week to sometimes 3 weeks or a month, depending on how active the involvement needs to be. But when it comes time to set them in place for a modular installation, we typically are doing a site visit and have someone from our install team that's very experienced with the proper way to pick these modules up, how to place them together. I mean, they're very large. So the last thing you'd want to do is build an entire project and then have it damaged right before the install. So we usually help with that. And it's actually worked quite well. Very good.
How does Germ-Free contribute to advancing global health through its products and services?
So a lot, actually. One example that we have that comes to mind is our single module advanced therapy production container, if you will. So we work with a partner called Caring Cross for this. They're based in Maryland, and they kind of handle the process development, tech transfer side of things, and we handle the facility infrastructure, purchasing the equipment, helping with the CQV side of things for the end customer that we both share. And we currently have 2 of those projects being built right now to go out of the country, Brazil to be exact, and another replica of that going to the Northeast. So it's pretty cool to see something not only happen once, but be scalable, right? And so it's cool when we get to the point where we can say, all right, this works. Now let's replicate it 2 more times. And, there's opportunities to replicate this 5 more times in other locations. And, that's not all happened yet, but even these 3 is very exciting for the ability to honestly reduce the lead times and cost because we're doing the same thing over and over, getting better at it.
Oh, very cool. And then what strategies do you employ to foster collaborative relationships with clients and ensure that they're successful?
What comes to mind most is the partnerships, one of them being what I was just talking about with Caring Cross. Like I said earlier, we like to be an end-to-end solution provider to take a lot off of our customers' plates. They're generally very good at doing the science, but initially enabling that is harder. There's less people experienced in that arena. And the partnerships are key because we can't be good or don't want to be good at everything. So we try to be well connected, work with people that, collectively we can accomplish a larger scope for them. And I think that's working well, particularly with Caring Cross as an example.
Yeah, I would imagine that there's got to be advantages in terms of having common vendors that you work with and common equipment types and things like that. It's got to somewhat not just speed the process, but also just make it more, I guess, repeatable because of the fact that at least you have a relationship that you can work from.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, doing something for the second time and the third time and learning a few lessons along the way, right, and getting better at it is huge for everyone involved. You can do it faster, you can do it cheaper, you can do it better, and I think everybody wins in that case.
Absolutely. So how do you balance the technical aspects of your role with the business and leadership responsibility side of it?
It's a good question. I feel actually very fortunate to not have to do too much technical work. So that's probably a good thing. In the end, I will say I really enjoy the technical work, and it's something that I certainly miss. That's kind of what really got me into the industry and made me love it. I would say probably the biggest area that I generally jump in and help, if you will, because I just can't resist staying out of it. I would do it for free, if you will. I enjoy it, is, helping with these analysis of, hey, will this building work for a modular installation? Or what do you guys think? What have you seen in the past of the best way to start up this facility? Like, I love that kind of thing because it's kind of what I've done a lot in my career. I feel like I can add value there, and the customers generally really appreciate that. So
yeah, I think it's always interesting whenever you sort of move forward into leadership roles and you have a core of experience, and then you have the ability to somewhat go back with clients and others and have these discussions, but at the same time you're normally leveraging other people in the team that might be also balancing it. In that same vein, do you feel like anything has changed in the industry since you more or less left the more technical side of the role?
I mean, to kind of tie into something I said earlier, I think the push for digitization is definitely something that's advanced more. Like when I used to be an automation engineer, that the focus was not nearly the same as trying to integrate all these systems together and make data available for various analytical purposes. And now you get to talk about cool things like perfect batch analysis and all this stuff that if I got to do, I would probably be still stuck in that rabbit hole because I'm just kind of a nerd when it comes to things like that.
Yeah, whenever I ran teams that did, like site qualification and things like that, all of the stuff that we did was in paper, right? So
yeah.
we had 3-ring binders all over the place, and I remember, a lot of the conversations that we would have is, about the IQ, OQ, PQ binders that we had that had to be shipped to one customer or another. Just having this stuff digitally would be a great advantage to not have to ship paper around the world.
Yeah, the paperless validation was definitely a big push too. You could ask some of my former team members that it's like, gosh, that stuff is so good, but when you don't know how to use it and they need me to log in and approve a protocol because somebody's out or something like that, it's kind of funny that you're kind of hopeless if you don't know how to use it. But when it works well and then as intended, that makes things so much easier.
So important. Well, what's the greatest piece of leadership advice that you've ever received?
That's a tough question, but I would say it really boils down to the concept of servant leadership. I actually studied this quite a bit. And, it may sound counterintuitive to some people. I think the concept is kind of catching on, but really my job is to serve my team and make sure they have what they need to be successful. I've heard it put this way: there's a difference between a leader and a boss, and for my team, I try to always be a leader and enable them. Right, I've hired them to do a job. I believe in them to do that job. I don't need to tell them how to do it. I need them to tell me what obstacles are in the way so they can be successful. And I had somebody kind of pitch and frame it like that to me, and I think it's just been so effective because what that's led to is really long-standing relationships with people that have been on my team, and we probably do anything for each other. And I think it's cool when you can leave a job and stay in touch with people, because it kind of comes back to the golden rule a bit. Like, you treated people how they wanted to be treated, and you advocated for their success. That's a pretty special thing when you see that come to fruition.
Yeah, it's kind of an interesting thought in a lot of ways, because I feel like new leaders. I was just talking again to somebody the other day where they were saying, hey, look, every year and every review becomes for them, a question by their high potentials. Where do I get to move to next? And of course, there's only so many senior leadership jobs in every role and things like that. But I feel like senior or servant leaders are much more focused on how do I continue to serve you, and how do I make sure that you're taken care of, even whenever it's not necessarily the next promotion. It's how do I best serve you so that you can go get the stuff done that you need to get done in your job, but also so that you can ultimately be successful and carry things forward as well.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, sometimes that means letting people blossom and go on to the next great opportunity and wishing them well, right? You can't hold people back. It's not good for them or you, frankly, in the long run. So I think all the time having a good pulse on, where do they want to be in 3 years and trying to help them get there. It kind of comes around to work out best for everybody if you just make that happen, regardless of what that means at the present time as far as promotions or certain projects in the company. If you're always advocating for your people, find out you have much better employees, and happy people get things done in a lot better way.
Absolutely. What inspires you?
It kind of dovetailing off the concept of leadership, helping people achieve more than they ever thought was possible. That's there's a lot that inspires me, but that's a pretty cool thing when people see success and they're like, man, I would have never guessed that we could have actually done this. That is just really cool to me when it comes to that. And we've had some wins like that here at Germfree. I don't want to call out anybody in particular, but it's just been cool to see that blossom. And it kind of makes me want to turn the computer on the next morning,
Very good. What concerns you?
Cool. It's a little deeper topic, but the healthcare. I mean, not only just in the United States, the state of healthcare, but throughout the world, we see some pretty interesting things, and when we're deploying labs to places, and it's just concerning that everybody doesn't get the same shake or the same chance in life. And it makes me feel very fortunate to live where we're at and have access to the healthcare that we do. And the cost of it in the United States, some of the therapies are cost prohibitive here, but outside of the United States, the problem's even worse. And I'm really hopeful that we can do something that impacts that, not just here, but everywhere.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting point that you're making, because I've I also have experienced a lot of different healthcare facilities throughout the world, and I've used the one example that I've had in India. I went to one of their healthcare facilities because I was sick, unfortunately, in Delhi. But I honestly had some of the greatest care that I've had in the world. So to not find this massive disparity there was a shock to me, because you're constantly told as a U.S. citizen, hey, look, we've got great healthcare here, and to be honest, I didn't feel like there was anything deficient in what I received there, and it cost me under $10 to go to the ER and walk out with an armload of prescriptions to fix what was wrong. So yeah, I mean, I might not be the norm. It's not like I did that every week. I mean, this is a one-time, worldwide experience. So thankfully, as a patient, I only had to do it once. But certainly there are other facilities that I've seen in Asia and other places in the world that, honestly, they seemed like they matched pretty well. And then the question always in the back of my mind as a U.S. citizen was, what is the overall cost that these people, at the end of the day are having to pay, right?
Right. Now, I think there's some lessons learned for us there, right? I find the middle ground is usually the best, right? We're probably maybe a bit extreme. I don't know if I want to claim that, but we'll say we're on the extreme end of regulation here in this country. And then there's places that we've deployed labs to where there's basically no regulation, and you see people doing things. One example I can think of was disposing of medical waste in a way that I would say is unsafe, definitely frowned upon. And so something to strike the balance between cost effectiveness but safety, I think we'll always fight that. And, I'm hopeful that our products will actually help in that endeavor. And, the Caring Cross module project that I mentioned going to Brazil, that's one good example. The cost of cell therapy here can easily touch in the hundreds of thousands of dollars. And by doing what we're doing, the cost is not hundreds of thousands of dollars. And, to enable that just purely from an economic perspective is quite cool. And I hope it kind of that concept spreads, and maybe it'll even spread here, right? Because nobody wants to pay hundreds of thousands in the U.S. either.
Also true. Well, thank you for sharing that. Last question: what excites you?
So probably, at least from a work sense, I'm an avid fisherman, so that excites me quite a bit. But for more relevant to this podcast, seeing people care about the why, and it kind of brings me back. We had a gentleman that started the Emily Jerry Foundation come into Germ Free not too long ago, and it's actually her father. And the whole purpose of that for our employees was to understand better why we do what we do. And, a lot of that was around our Smart Hood product. I've mentioned that, before in this interview, but, like we can actually do something to make the world a better place, prevent needless, or, careless errors that can even lead to death in this case. And, just by making an innovative product, caring about the quality, and making sure that a better tool gets put in the hands of the caregivers that take care of us all. So, it's really exciting when you see that click with people, and you can see they're like, man, I come to work and I'm not just making a widget. I'm actually making the world a better place. And it excites me personally that we do that, as well as I get excited to see other people have that same feeling.
Yeah, it's one of the things that I feel like oftentimes, you didn't say it in your intro, but there are a lot of people that I feel like whenever they go through their intro and what led them to the role that they're in today, it's because, one, they wanted to be close to making an impact for patients. And then, at the tail end, they like contributing, and doing their part, to help patients that are maybe not feeling well.
Yeah, for sure. I had a time when at the beginning of my career, I was really close to making food, getting into food and beverage. And you know what, at the end of the day, what kind of pushed me one way or another was I felt like one made a bigger impact on people. Not that both don't touch people's lives or there's anything wrong with the other industry, but for me, it just helps me get up in the morning to know I'm really making a direct impact.
Well, thank you for sharing that. Forrest Brown, thank you so much for being on the Life Science Success podcast. I really appreciated our conversation here, and it was great to get to hear about what you're working on with Germ Free, and I wish you a great year.
Yeah, thanks, Don. We'll talk to you later. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Thank you for listening to Life Science Success. For complete details about this podcast, including show notes, how to get in touch with guests, and more episodes, please visit www.lifesciencesuccess.com. If there's someone you'd like for us to invite to the show as a guest, please let me know by sending me a message at the podcast website. Please click subscribe on your favorite podcast app, share the podcast, or tell a friend about it, and last but not least, rate the podcast. Thank you again.